Hello, this is Aliona, and working with us today is Master Yelena. Yelena is the lead master pathologist at my salon. And we had a client come in like this, saying her nail isn't growing back, and it seems like there's a gap there. Well, of course, she didn't do anything special, and all of this just happened on its own. It sounds absurd, but most often that's exactly the case, because here you can see that the injury happened due to wearing the wrong shoes. Most likely that's exactly what happened. The nail, of course, is already quite thick, so now we'll thin it out, trim it, and completely remove the nail plate, because at this point there's absolutely nothing left to save here. We use regular nail clippers, the kind you use to trim toenails, the ones we use for cutting. We also use a carbide burr, and this is done to thin the surface of the nail so that it's easier to cut. And of course, in the video you can see what actually makes onycholysis dangerous. It may seem like just a regular separation of the nail from the nail bed, but the thing is, if you leave a traumatized nail like this for a long time, dirt starts to accumulate underneath. And when you open it up, you can find all sorts of things there: yellow, green, black, brown, and all kinds of colors. The thing is, I wasn't allowed to call things by their real names. That's why the stuff under your nails, the subungual material, needs to be removed so that nothing else, something more alive, starts growing under there. Basically, it's to prevent a secondary infection so you don't end up with a fungus and pseudomonas or any other unpleasant issues. Here we used a softener. If I'm not mistaken, in this case we used Brantemann. It's a kind of gentle keratolytic. You apply it and it creates a maceration effect, basically a steaming effect on the skin. Unwanted old skin is removed very easily. It peels off without any problems. Next, Yelena starts cleaning with a curette, removing everything that can be taken out from there. Basically, she chooses it. That may not be the technical term, but that's what happens. Actually, in pedicure, with a focus on podology, everything is banal, simple, logical, and sequential. You just need to think about why a particular thing is happening to a person. That is, we always have a cause and effect relationship. Why could the nail have come off? Well, because it was affected by some external influence. What kind of external influence could it be? Yes, the most ordinary one. Here we see a bone beginning to grow. It's likely both flat feet and wearing the wrong shoes are involved, as they are connected. And of course, the toes inside the shoe just bunch up together, and as a result, the nail has trouble growing and is constantly being pressed on. And there you have it. That's the result. It's all very, very simple. And of course, the client needs to take a comprehensive approach. In this case, seeing an orthopedist would be helpful. Good support is really needed here. You should recommend that she get insoles or even have custom ones made. Of course, it's important to be more careful when choosing shoes, because here everyone buys shoes that fit exactly to the foot. And if your toes are a little curled up inside and the shoes pinch just a bit, people think they'll get used to it, that the shoes will stretch out, but then you end up with this kind of result. And you know what? I want to tell you that's how it goes. She has this on 2 toes. I'll show you her other foot in a moment, and it's exactly the same situation there. So we have a symmetrical problem. She didn't hit it or injure it once. She was putting pressure on it systematically. When you buy shoes, it's very important to just take out the insole, put it on the floor, and place your foot on top of it. Then you need to put your full weight on the insole. Not your full weight, just stand with both feet. This way, your weight will be evenly distributed on the insole and your foot will kind of spread out. When we shift our weight, the foot becomes a little wider. And in this position, you need to check if there is any space left at the back, front, and sides. Because very often it happens that just a few extra toes, for example, the pinky doesn't fit, or the big toe sticks out, or this little bump will be sticking out. And this simply means that it just doesn't fit you in size. And here everyone starts saying that shoes, even though they're beautiful, are never comfortable. Like, I went shopping and everything that fits right and is comfortable is just really ugly. But I want to wear heels, I want to look the coolest, right? I need to add some height, lose those 5 kilos that heels take off, and all that. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, I want to wear beautiful shoes too, but for me, heels are only for special occasions, really, like for some event. And I'll also bring a change of shoes with me, just like a schoolgirl. Seriously, just in case. Because I know I might get tired and it's better that way. Change your shoes And by the way, it's actually recommended to change your shoes several times during the day to redistribute the load. Now, regarding beauty and lack of beauty, let's get back to our shoes. While Yelena is cleaning the second toe, as you can see, it's the same situation there. But as a bonus, she has a hematoma on her second toe. Yes, it's blue, but unfortunately I don't know the cause of it. I'll try to find out from Lena, of course, whether she looked into it or not, but in the video I only have the cleaning of the two most interesting toes. So about shoes, you have to understand that wearing beautiful shoes is kind of a one-time thing. Yeah, so people saw you, you walked around looking amazing, everyone looked at you, admired your stilettos, everything was great. But right after that, it's like, oh, there's a hair under the nail, and the consequences come immediately. We all know how our feet burn after wearing uncomfortable shoes, and how you just want to soak them or elevate them to reduce swelling. And all of this, well, shouldn't it be telling us something? We should understand that if our body reacts this way, it means it's uncomfortable, so it won't hurt for no reason. When nothing is happening, we need to be aware of that. And as you get older, your legs won't thank you for it. I remember my grandmother's legs, and I always asked her, "Grandma, why are your legs like that? What happened?" She had bunions and other issues, saying, "That's just from working in the fields." At that time, shoes weren't available, so they bought whatever fit, even if too small. They wore them happily and were grateful. But guys, we live in such a progressive time. We have the internet, iPhones, and I don't know, some people have Samsungs. Yeah, but in any case, we have everything and we have the opportunity to find comfortable shoes. Even now, if necessary, they make it to order. Yes, let's be honest, it's not a cheap pleasure, but such shoes will cost about the same as a good pair of Italian boots. But on the other hand, it's about the health of your feet. Otherwise, you could end up with various deformities, varicose veins, constant swelling, and fatigue. Do you really need that? Well, a person should generally be self-sufficient by nature, basically. It doesn't matter what shoes you're wearing or what you're dressed in. Well, actually, it is important, of course, how you look after all. People judge by appearance, but still. Well, for example, I've learned to feel very feminine and beautiful even in sneakers, and it doesn't affect my personal qualities at all. What kind of shoes I wear specifically, I try to remember that and I tell everyone else about it too. And you explain to your clients that wearing narrow, high-heeled shoes unfortunately only leads to negative consequences. At best, you get some pretty pictures, but that's just one time, and your feet will hurt afterwards. If you do nothing, the consequences can be terrible. In this video, we can see that the bone is just growing for now, but that's already a deformation, and it's happening inside. The toes are coming together when they should be separate. Properly chosen shoes are when, inside the shoe, you can, if you want, curl your toes into a fist. That is when there's enough space that you can actually make a fist with your toes. And you also need to understand that it's the laces that should secure your foot in the shoe. They are not just there for decoration, they're needed so that when you walk, your foot doesn't slide, doesn't fall forward, and your big toe, second or third toe, doesn't bump into the front of the shoe. Because that also causes certain consequences and sometimes it can even lead to injury. There are also special silicone pads that are inserted into the shoes and prevent your foot from slipping inside. Such pads are sold in any orthopedic salon. And also in a regular shoe store, you can always find this kind of small silicone insole. Also in sports stores, you can often find great insoles, just for support. Gel or some kind of foam insoles for flat feet are always available. Well, and of course, orthopedic salons are still an option. I really ask you, please take this to heart. Yes, try to understand it and share it with your clients. Beauty is important, of course, but when there is deformation and changes, which sometimes unfortunately can be irreversible, all of this affects our health. Please don't be indifferent to this, think about it and talk about it. Also, talk about why it's still necessary to clean up onycholysis. I've already talked about this in my previous videos. Yes, you need to explain to the client that we clean up onycholysis so that dirt doesn't accumulate there. Also, why can't it be prosthetized? Yes, because freshly cleaned onycholysis looks great, yes, everything is clean and nice, but as soon as we apply artificial material there, we'll create the same onycholysis again. It will be exactly the same pocket, because the gel won't adhere to the nail bed, and nothing good will come of it. You also need to try to explain this to your clients. Well, alright. Meanwhile, Yelena is finishing up her pedicure, and I'm wrapping up my lyrical digression with an appeal to, I don't know, understanding conscience, whatever. Yelena is still showing some of her filing, but the full pedicure couldn't fit here and wasn't shown. The goal here was to show these two injured toenails. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments. I'm open to feedback. Let me know what you think about this. Don't be shy, write your thoughts, and we'll discuss it.